This is Ed,
This is Chris.
and this is Play Me a Story, a narrative-focused video game podcast. Today we're discussing the 2018 PS4 exclusive by Insomniac Studios, Spiderman. So we're going to be talking about Act 2 onward here. We sort of already talked about some of the things that in the first act of the game. So Act 2, the Martin Lee act, and it starts with Mary Jane and Peter forming a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very ambiguous thing that plays throughout the second act.
Mm-hmm. They do have different ideas of being partners. Peter is learning that he can't shoulder the responsibility himself, but he's always worrying about others because, you know, they don't have powers.
Right.
And Mary Jane's like, fuck you, dude. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. I can still do this. And he's like, oh, fuck, you're right.
Right.
Yeah, like it's I just really like that even though he's self-actualized, he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's still learning stuff, and he's still learning how to trust other people to kind of lighten the load so he doesn't have to burden himself all the time because
Right.
he has that fucking terrible tendency to do that.
There's a really good build up to that relationship. I know in the last episode, I was complaining about playing as Mary Jane and playing as Miles.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever. There were 15 minutes.
We are gonna jump. I'm gonna jump a little bit right here. Her final section,
Yes.
is kind of fun, but it sucks because it takes so long to make it fun.
I agree.
For Mary Jane.
That mission really kind of drives that point home.
Mm-hmm.
This is the partnership that Mary Jane always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when I was playing that mission, you're expecting to go in there and beat up a bunch of people because Mary Jane is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the combat enough that I was looking forward to going in there and beating the shit out of those guys. And eventually you do.
Yeah. Both Miles and Mary Jane have these missions, and they're like, it's okay. It's fine. It's cool to play as them. It's a nice touch. But then their last mission's like, okay, that was pretty fun.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
So, even though Miles' last section is like a little bit of like a Boo Haunted House kind of type situation, it's kind of easy to just get through. It's still fun, just like if you just thinking about what's going on around Miles and what Miles is willing to do as a normal person.
Well, I mean, at that point, he's proven himself to be a hero without having to be a superhero.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's lost his father. He decides to carry on his legacy by helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
There's that one line that I really liked after Martin Lee gets arrested, and he's talking to Miles over the thing, and he's like, dude, you know, you don't have to do this. You know, I know it sucks knowing you work for Martin Lee, and he's like, you know, my dad always say a good guy is just someone that doesn't give up.
Yeah, Martin Lee did a bad thing, but none of the people at Feast did the thing, so that's who I'm helping. I really like that Miles was that mature enough to make that differentiation.
Yeah.
I think Peter's still having like a coming of age story. He's still kind of like reliant on the adults, but then this is him like with the loss of his 3 parental figures.
Right.
He is becoming the adult.
You know, in some sense, there's a fourth one there. It's Norman Osborn.
He's trying to keep an eye out for Peter, but like in probably the worst way possible.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I'll just throw money at Peter. He'll be fine.
Kind of what you were saying with what Batman did with blending all the superheroes together. I mean, all the villains together. Is that this game does the same thing. And not only that, but they're all sort of thematically tied all within one another. You know, Martin Lee's origin story, it's
tied to Norman.
It's tied to Norman, yes, but it's also kind of like it's not like an equal to Peter Parker's, but there is, you know, a sort of commonality there in which they both witnessed somebody died and it transformed them, you know, in all these ways. And then also you have Norman Osborn. I mean, you know, we have that. We also have Otto's origin story, of course, but then we have Norman. And that was what really surprised me, dude, was Norman's sort of reveal of what's happening with Harry. Because throughout the whole game, they're saying, oh, he's over in Europe and stuff like that.
There's all these tiny hints. They're coming up with different ways of saying, like, he's out of town, basically. And then he keeps basically hinting to Peter throughout the research stations is like, I can't do it because, you know, the trip. So yeah,
I thought we were gonna see Harry at the end.
Yeah,
I thought he was gonna get like a nice little cameo, and maybe that was gonna play into part 3.
Like, coming back from Europe, or you know,
Hey, what did I miss? You know, something silly like that.
I watched a video a while back talking about how Ip Man is the perfect way to write a Superman movie. Where sure, he's a superhero, and I actually just read Kingdom Come, which kind of has a similar theme to it of like, yeah, sure, these people are superheroes, but that doesn't make them gods.
Right.
They're not infallible. They are still human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I feel like I agree with that sentiment of that this is a perfect story of where it's not necessarily a superhero game. Sure, you have superpowers, but you're not infallible. You're not like this paragon of virtue. You're just a person.
You're Peter Parker.
You are Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's it's a really great way to put it. So let's sort of dig back into the structure of this.
Yeah. Let's get back.
So the first half of Act 2, it's very loosey goosey, sort of like the first game, and it is mostly looking back in retrospect, having taken the whole story in. It's just a lot of characterization.
Oh yeah,
even when the pacing is a little wonky for me, I found that I was never bored because the characters they're just great to watch.
Every single one of them are very well written.
Yeah. The first half of Act 2 is mostly just sort of building up a characterization, but the Halloween mission.
That's where it begins. That's where like all points kind of start coming into the funnel.
Right. Yeah. Because at that point, Otto is also he's making the leap. He's not Doc Ock yet, but he's there.
But he's making the connection of like, oh wait, I don't have to make arms. I can fucking make other limbs. I can make a bunch of other shit.
Right.
Yeah. So he's getting there. And then if you take a look around the lab, you can see that he's fucking plotting the prison break right in front of you, without Peter even realizing it. He's like, oh, all these military contracts. I really wish Doc didn't have to do this.
Right.
He's fucking making Rhino's new suit. Or he's making all the new suits. Like, he's got the plans for all of them. He's got his jumpsuit ready. He's got his goggles. He's got everything ready to go. He just needs that one last snap.
Yeah.
But I love that they contrast that with Martin Lee. Let's get back to
So yeah, the Halloween mission. First of all, I love Halloween. That's my favorite holiday.
That's my favorite
of the year.
Fucking holiday.
That's what's up. So anything Halloween related, I'm stoked for. It was a fun mission because you're not the only Spider-Man there. Everybody's there's that one guy that fucks with you.
Yeah. And I fucking had a blast just going through that section, finding all the Spider-Man, finding everyone who's like in the villains.
Yeah. So I think the reason why that mission feels like this is the game starting. This is when we kind of discover the MacGuffin of the game, the Devil's Breath and stuff like that. So finally, let's sort of like look at this from a screenplay sort of thing. Imagine a movie where the first act, instead of building up the plots devices, it builds up the characters.
Say the first maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah, I say that the first 30 minutes are just characters. And I mean that's already like bad structuring in the screenplay.
Yeah,
in the game it works. In the game it works. Yeah. And then with this, it all clicks. This is when the game starts to feel like a movie because now you have your MacGuffin. And I swear to God, I usually hate MacGuffins, but like this game made me realize, oh, this is why we're here.
This is a good use of a MacGuffin.
Yeah,
there's a whole video. I forgot who it was. And I'll look it up later. I'll probably shout out later. But there's this really good video on the use of MacGuffins and how bad they can be. There's actually two videos now that comes to my mind. There's one by Overly Sarcastic Productions. They do a whole video. They have this whole video series called Trope Talk, and they're just really smart. They're really in depth.
I gotta look at that one. I haven't heard of those guys. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, they're really. It's quick. It's informative. It's fun. It's So but they have a whole video on MacGuffins. There's another one where it's like the thumbnail is R2D2. I can't remember the name of that channel though. Like a MacGuffin can be good. MacGuffin can be bad. This is one of those occasions where it is a good MacGuffin. Yeah, and it's not. Is it really a MacGuffin though? Because MacGuffins aren't they usually? Well, it's what unidentified.
The MacGuffin is. I mean, the way I define it is the device that both the good guys and the bad guys are racing against each other to get. That's how I define it.
Yeah,
so
it's the thing everyone wants.
Yeah, so it's
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, never mind then. But yeah, no. Again, good MacGuffin, and it actually serves a general purpose in the story.
One thing again about structure. I looked up the IGN walkthrough.
The mission list.
Yeah, and it has it broken down into Act 1, 2, and 3. If you look at it, just like as an outline, it follows the 30 60 30 rule of like screenwriting. First 30 is Act 1, last 30 is Act 3, and then your hour in the middle is Act 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it even follows that to a T. So so after we get this, the game really comes into focus here. And from that point on, it really just becomes about finding Martin Lee, tracking him down, and stopping him.
And no one believes, for a certain amount of time, no one believes Martin Lee is able to do this.
Right, yeah, because everybody thinks him as, the guy who did Feast and stuff like that.
Yeah. because he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
There's no way he could be Mr. Positive one moment and Mr. Negative the second.
Yeah, the real Jekyll Mr. Hyde thing going
really
on.
liked
This is when the Hollywood type of spectacle starts to ramp up. This is when you have the, people are going to break into Grand Central, and there's going to be this whole hostage situation. And, you got all this, like, large-scale sort of thing. And it really makes the game from there on out. Just, you do kind of want to run through it like you do a movie. You just kind of want to see what happens next. And it's sort of, and it keeps pushing forward, and it climaxes with Martin Lee being arrested, and then the raft mission.
The whole raft mission.
This is
such a fun section.
This is one of the most epic. I think epic is the only real word I can really. One of the most epic fucking things I've ever played.
To be totally
through.
honest, yeah, that felt like Endgame.
Yeah,
and that whole section.
And you know what? The best thing about it was. It was all gameplay.
Yeah,
it was all game. It's actual like the gameplay you were doing before. You're not doing no quick. You're not doing no quick study. I mean, it's there, but almost all of it, you're actively participating in every single step of it.
From swinging through the outside, dodging Electro, or like chasing him up an elevator shaft,
or just having to fucking fight all these or whittle the numbers down so the cops can gain control of certain parts of the prison. Yeah, dude. Fucking A. And then this is the mission where it is revealed. Right? This is the mission where Octavius is revealed. Let's talk about that fucking reveal, man.
Bro.
Because one of the best things I liked about Act 3 is that throughout Act 3, Peter is audibly hurting. He's in physical, like early on in Act 3, he says, "Oh, you have 17 broken bones. You need to
that's
chill."
That's from getting fucking pummeled by the Sinister Six, and then the whole. Just getting fucking pummeled. Because like, could you imagine that fight?
Yeah, no, I was thinking that
in the gameplay, if you had to fight all 5 of them at the same time.
Oh, okay, in the gameplay, that would be a whole thing.
Because like, I think I complained the last bit when we were talking about Act 1 and how the bosses were a little too easy.
Yeah.
Playing on ultimate difficulty, they are a little bit more. They are a bit more difficult. Like I was trying to pummel Electro in one section, and then I got Vulture coming at me from behind, and then it's this whole thing. I gotta like stop pummeling him, dodge Vulture, go back to Vulture, beat him for a bit, and then oh shit, he's gonna hit me with his wings. They are a bit more challenging.
You know what?
So all 5 of them at once on that tiny little helipad. Ooh.
Yeah. That specific mission. Let's set it up a little bit because this does have a thing. So basically, Martin Lee is put there. It's found out that that there's a breakout at Raft. Spider-Man has to go stop it. And then this leads, kind of like what we said. You start low level, you build your way up till you're at the top of the raft, and it's Electro and it's Vulture. And
the way they really quick, sorry.
Oh,
the
ahead.
way they introduced all the villains to throughout you chasing Electro, just
just like one little bit at a time.
Yeah, and even through all of it, like Peter, I don't think Peter ever in his career like faced all of them teaming up. I don't even think he ever faced 2 of them teaming up because that's kind of unheard of for some reason. That's what they made it sound like. So the fact that he's chasing Electro through the prison. And he's meeting, like, Rhino's throwing shit at him. Scorpion's still trying to choke the shit out of him. Vulture's carrying him off somewhere. And he's still cracking jokes.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of panic that must be going through him. And then this is still how he...
Yeah, how he deals with
how he
it.
carries himself.
Yeah.
That was one great writing, great characterization. Really fun section.
Oh yeah,
just the entire rap section is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I know I made that joke that all the boss fights are the same, and don't get me wrong, this is basically the same. But
no, they are. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but what I liked about this one, and also like the final boss fight, I found the 2 most enjoyable because you spend almost all of it just swinging. You're not even trying to touch the ground.
Yeah, because there are parts throughout that game where you can touch the ground.
Yeah,
or not through the game, but through the fight. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and then I really love too that move where I had it unlocked now where the rockets came. I could just like throw it back at the enemy, and just those little tiny things, man. They just add up, and it was excuse me, it was just like hell sick,
Yeah.
But I kind of want to get to that reveal Doc Ock because at that point, all the 5 of the Sinister Six have all had their turn beating the shit out of Spider-Man. He's at his lowest point. He's defeated.
Yeah. Ribs broken, fucking stabbed by Scorpion, like just absolutely pummeled, and fucking even Electro has his final little say so at the end.
Yeah, and just one more thing before we get into the final things I want to get here. I really like how, with the exception of Rhino, all the Sinister Six have distinct New York accents.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was a nice
especially
touch.
Electro, you know.
Where would you say Electro's from? Probably the Bronx?
He seems...
Granted, this is any New Yorkers that maybe
they probably know more. I only know
I've
from like
never set foot in New York.
Yeah,
before.
I only know like New York from like 70s like fucking movies because they were all in New York.
Yeah.
So to me, he just kind of sounds like a Manhattan 70s dirty grimy motherfucker.
He does.
You know,
he does a bit.
Yeah, you can tell this fool. You know, he grew up. He had a hard life.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I also fucking love that he will go back and forth with Spider-Man on their dumb movie references.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were both totally fucking dorky about that shit.
That was a great sequence.
Yeah.
It was just a great little, like, not repertoire. It's just good back and forth.
Yeah.
Between the two of them. I loved it.
Another little, speaking of reference things, dude, one of my favorite fucking moments in the game, it's early on in Act 2 when you're fighting Martin Lee through the subway cars, and then Spider-Man, like, he can't stop it, so he does the Spider-Man 2 thing. Yeah. And I was like, that worked last time.
Yeah, you caught that one.
Yeah, like my little inner 11-year-old was like, he said he referenced the thing. Oh my God. Mom, you're not going to believe this. Yeah.
Oh shit! There were so many references throughout, like we said last time. Just the love of the IP. Mm-hmm. So many references to so many different things. Like fucking there was that. There was the balloon thing from the Spider-Man 2 game.
Oh yeah.
I can't even remember. There were like so many of them. I can't pick out a single one right now. But no, they're just really fucking awesome.
Yeah,
really good times.
Definitely. You know, this game is just such a joy to anybody that's a fan of it. But kind of darkening the mood here a little bit. Yeah. There's something to be said for Spider-Man Peter Parker getting his ass handed to him that badly, and as if that wasn't enough, here comes his father figure, or like his, I think his like key father figure.
Yeah,
you know. And just to show him, man, like, you could save everybody, but you couldn't save Otto.
Yeah.
You know?
And, fuck, dude.
I felt that pain.
And it felt like he was still going to fight. Like, he was going to do his best to ward these 5 off. But then as soon as Otto showed up, that was just it
defeated.
For him. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the way that... Because before that, the last time we see Otto is when he finally has the harness.
I was gonna bring this up, but yeah.
Yeah, and Peter is just like, dude, don't do this. Like, this thing is fucking with your head. And then at the end, you know, you see Otto Octavius for the last time before Doc Ock takes over.
Yeah,
where he's just like, you're right. You know, this is not the thing. But then
fucking that news report shows up.
It just had to be on that channel, man. You know,
Norman had to show up on TV.
This is why you get TiVo, so you don't get that shit.
Yeah,
if only he had.
This is why you just have Netflix.
If only he had Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's what threw him over the edge. And then by the time you understand Otto's anger towards Norman.
You understand everyone's anger towards Norman.
You know, that's the thing. I was going to touch on this earlier, but now that we're kind of in Act 3, I really want to touch on this a little more. Every single person, all the characters broke my heart. Every single one. Martin Lee, even though I played this game before and I knew what was coming for him, it's still that speech he gives. This is the last good thing that's going to remain of me.
Yeah, where it represents the very best of me.
The very best of him, you know. Yeah. And to me, there's something ironic that, in some weird way, Martin Lee is sort of pathetic in a sad way.
Like no matter how good he tries to do, he will always have this one bit of him that's what really defines him. Yeah,
and I mean, let's sort of like look at what he did. He spent his whole life doing the best he could to be Feast, right? Then he lets his worst get to him. He becomes Mr. Negative, and he does nothing to it. He gets defeated. The only thing that comes of it is that he becomes a pawn in a smarter person's plan.
Yeah,
and then he fails that too.
Yeah,
and then I love how, like, after the entire game, you know, you build up Martin Lee, you're gonna fight, you're gonna kick his ass and shit like that, and then when you finally do, here comes Doc Ock and he just fucking kicks him out.
Yeah, he just fucking bashes him to the side.
Yeah, like,
and calls him useless.
Yeah,
like, this guy has way more power than you.
Right.
He taps into a whole like almost supernatural, like, other world, and you're gonna call him useless?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and what I love too is that like Martin Lee, he got nothing.
Yeah.
The two people that lost the most in this game is Martin Lee and Peter Parker, because Peter Parker, he might have lost all his parental figures, and honestly, like I think the next part of the game is gonna have to deal with the fact that his body's broken. Like that has to be something they deal with, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Martin Lee, like he loses not just because he loses his wife. We see that he lost his parents. He became the bad guy. He lost to Dr. Octavius.
He lost his reputation.
So not only did he lose his reputation for being a good person, he also now has the reputation of being an incompetent bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, he really got fucked over.
He fucking did. Poor guy.
I don't even feel bad. Peter Parker, the best thing about him is that first and foremost, before he was ever a superhero, he was just a good dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was always trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, as me and my friend Darren like to say, he's the kind of guy that wouldn't fuck your wife.
Yeah.
You know? Like he's a genuinely good person.
Yeah.
And what really kind of breaks my heart about how he feels with Martin and Otto is that he still wants to see the good in them.
Yeah.
He still believes he can reach something in them.
Yeah. Even at the very end, he still does. Like,
yeah.
As Martin Lee has demonstrated that he is willing to kill people, that he is willing to turn people's most hidden dark sides against the world,
right?
Against their will, and he's willing to bomb people with a deadly contagion. He still believes him, and that during that whole final section, I think it's Peter seeing what could have happened to him,
right?
And that he would have wanted someone with him. And he's just trying to be that person. So,
that's fine. That's
yeah, because I mean, yeah, you have Mary Jane who found out his Martin Lee's sequence and then filled Peter in later. But then like you have Peter actually watching it, like seeing it as he's walking through, and he's just practically begging Martin Lee to just turn it down, and he almost gets him.
Yeah,
but then Doc Ock.
Yeah, you see him, just cutting back and forth between Martin. And it's funny because you can only do damage to him when he is Martin, or real damage when not when he's Dr. Negative.
When he's positive, yeah.
Yeah, and here's something that really just clicked with me. Would you consider Mr. Negative, the whole Mr. Negative, would you consider that a sort of metaphor for depression?
Depression or guilt, which I mean the two can coincide rather easily.
Yeah, they usually do coincide.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's that sequence, where he gets you, where Mr. Negative grabs Peter and infects his
while
brain
they're on the truck.
While they're on the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you follow Peter through it. And what I found interesting was that a lot of it was just guilt tripping, and it was just Mr. Negative trying to get Peter to be a self-loathing, self-hating person who only gains power from dwelling on those negative emotions. It's trying to turn Peter into him.
Yeah.
And sort of, to me, I think that's what the game is trying. And I don't know, I think that's what the game is sort of reaching for with that segment. It's not so much about his power. His power isn't that he's negative. That's his weakness. He's depressed. It manifests through power. But when you get a glimpse of what his inner dialogue and what his inner brain is like, it's fucking sad. He's blaming himself. Probably
constantly blaming himself.
You know? And he can't make peace with it. And that's sort of his tragic downfall.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah. If Mr. Negative is the commentary for depression, then Spider-Man would be hope or
definitely
the chance at it.
Definitely, because throughout that whole sequence he is actively trying to appeal to his humanity.
Exactly.
Which is something he himself decided to get rid of. Despite everything that he's done, To me that was an interesting aspect of it. And so Spider-Man at this point, he's rock bottom. I think completely.
Absolutely. And this is like at the height of him. He took down 5 of the worst villains he's ever fought in quick succession. After them being teamed up, after the city pretty much going to hell.
Right.
And then here comes Doc Ock, the one guy that like inspires him, not just as Spider-Man, but as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And he is an absolute villain. So, and his fucking aunt is dying. Like, Yeah, no, there's no doubt he's at rock bottom, like you said.
What surprised me when I was playing this game
Mm-hmm.
is to be honest, I haven't given a shit about Spider-Man since 2001 or 2004 when Spider-Man 2 came out.
Yeah.
I watched Spider-Man 3. I pretend that I didn't. And I seen a few of the Spider-Man movies there. Some of them were entertaining. I don't hate anything, but I really didn't care. But what surprised me with this was this to me honestly, like this feels like it feels so much like it's in the Raimi verse. It feels so much
It really does.
like the golden, like the golden hue that it uses during that part of that game. I mean, that's totally that yellow red sort of thing that was going on too. And so what surprised me was by Act 3. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just about to say, even the music that plays when you're like swinging through the city, that like really repetitive heroic music, even that's kind of reminiscent. Like it makes me feel like I am swinging through that world. Through that Raimi verse.
You know, that's funny though, because to me the music seemed more like the Marvel score because Danny Elfman did the Spider-Man scores. I mean, it's a little more subdued than his normal stuff, but it's still Danny Elfman. He's still a little crazy.
Don't get me wrong, I can feel it, but like I think it's mostly the color contrast that you were talking about, like that golden hue and then the music and then just swinging around, especially if you wear the Raimi suit.
Oh yeah. I wore that Raimi suit for a very, very long time, man.
I do want to wear it all the time, but then I never realized how big the spider on the back was. And for some reason it just
Oh no, it does look like it does look of its time.
Yeah, it's just so off-putting.
Yeah. You know what it is? Like the new back then, like people had to wear those superhero costumes.
Yeah.
Now, Disney's lazy. Let's be real. That's what they are. They don't design it before it and then test it. They just have the actors wear like a all size fits all tracking suit, and then they slap on
that design,
the design after in post.
Yeah.
And so to me, like they do a good job of making it look real, but it doesn't look real. It doesn't look like it comes from this planet.
It doesn't.
You're
right. Act 3, I feel like, is the fall of Peter's world. Like he has done 8 years of being Spider-Man, and his worlds have never come closer to colliding and absolutely destroying each other. I mean, yeah, sure, he's probably put like Mary Jane in danger. Mary Jane's probably been in danger's way more than once throughout the 8 years. He's probably dealt with some relationship shit between Black Cat being in love with Spider-Man and Mary Jane being in love with Peter, and him probably being in love with both at the same time.
Yeah.
But here he is as Spider-Man fighting villains, and through that, the consequences are the entire city that he does love. He fucking loves this city. And he's not like, oh, I love this city, and he's only talking about like Midtown or like the Upper East Side. He's literally at all different districts. He loves this place.
Yeah.
But here's also his aunt, who's like, as much as Martin Lee, as much as Feast represented the best of Martin Lee, it even says, like, if you pause the game and you look through the social media feed after the game is beaten, and it's like, oh, they have like a little obituary for not Mary Jane, for Aunt May.
Yeah.
They say like she was the very best of us. There's the official like Feast account or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, now I don't think Aunt May is like only the best of New York. She's the best of Peter, I think. Yeah,
or at least I think that's where Peter gets her and Uncle Ben.
Yeah,
clearly, but she's there longer in his life.
Yeah.
I think, what I love about the Spider-Man mythos just in general is that like it's idealized, but it's not simple. In almost every Spider-Man story that I know, Peter loses at the end. He beats the bad guys.
Yeah, but he himself doesn't really necessarily come out the winner.
Yeah.
Wins the fight, but doesn't win the war.
Yeah. So there's always that complicated aspect of him. But what I've always loved about these characters in this world is just how purely good and loving that whole family dynamic
the entire
is.
Parkers, yeah.
And it's not an accident that that's not his mom and dad. That's his uncle and that's his aunt. It could have been any other aunt and uncle, but they're the ones who are kind enough to bring it in. And it's sort of like this background characterization that, like, just by seeing who he is, even if we never saw Aunt May, let's just say she wasn't even a part of the story, even if it was just Peter Parker and Spider-Man, just seeing who he is shows how good of a people Aunt May and Uncle Ben were, and I just sort of love how uncomplicated that all is. So when Act 3 starts with Aunt May being sick, and movie video game language, if somebody coughs blood, they're gonna be dead by the end of the movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
No doubt about it. So Act 3 to me, the only word I can really describe it is just emotional. Like,
Oh,
I was so emotionally involved more than ever in a way that I didn't see coming, by the way. Because like I said, even though the Act 2 picks up, to me, it's still mostly just like a spectacular, badass, summer movie.
Yeah.
And then, don't get me wrong, Act 3 definitely has that spectacle and it totally feels like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
But there is like but it's like top tier Hollywood movie, like blockbuster movie where like, yes, the action's cool, but you really give a shit about these characters. And I didn't see it coming, man.
Yeah.
I really didn't see it coming. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm very happy to hear that it had that effect on you.
Oh yeah.
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 Because I mean, fucking, as great as the Batman Arkham games are, it didn't have, and as much of a spectacle as they might have had, it didn't have this much emotional impact on
agree.
me as Spider-Man did. Like, did you ever play any of the Batman Arkham games?
I played Arkham City and Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
And that's it.
So spoilers for Arkham Knight. By the end of the game, Batman's identity is revealed to the world. And basically Bruce decides to blow himself up.
Oh shit!
Yeah, to save he blows up the Batcave. He blows up the Wayne Manor. He blows up literally everything in order to protect the rest of the Bat family. So like Dick, Barbara, I think Tim is the Robin in that game. So it's like, but even then it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but that didn't have as much spectacle on the game as Spider-Man did at all.
Yeah,
I think the one bit is that when because throughout the whole game, Joker dies at Arkham City, but he's still like a memory of Batman.
He's still there.
Yeah, in Arkham Knight. So the final boss fight again is Joker. But it ends with Batman literally like throwing him in a coffin and then just pushing the coffin away in like his mind palace.
Okay.
And Joker, as it's going away, just very heartbroken, is like begging Batman not to do this. And the very last thing he says is, "I need you."
Ooh.
Yeah. So
that's
the one bit throughout all of all the Arkham games that's like, oh.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That hits hard.
Dude, honestly, anytime they explore that connection between Batman and Joker, it's gold. Like the Lego Batman, it's all about that.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And it's a great little Batman story. I think it's for kids, yes, but that's funny.
It's a great. Like I was gonna go into that movie, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like this, and I came out crying.
Yeah,
because again, it's like that whole sequence.
Phil Lord and Chris Miller, man, they have a way of doing that. That's how I felt with the first Lego movie.
Yeah,
I like
the first Lego.
Yeah, movie. I walked in, like I forgot. I think I was just like really high, and like my brother downloaded it, so I was like, why not?
I didn't want to go see it because I thought it was all stop motion.
Yeah,
and I was like, hey, that's gonna be fucking awesome. It's a stop motion movie with nothing but Legos. Let's do this. That's gonna be impressive as hell. And then
Will Ferrell.
And
that's all we're gonna say because this isn't about that movie. But
it's not even about the Batman games.
Yeah, it's not. But
Sorry.
No, it's not. But you know what, dude? Sort of what you're saying about how that the final fight of Arkham Knight is not as spectacular as everything that came before it. I really do like the Arkham games. But everybody talks to them like they're 9s and 10s. To me, they're like a high 7,
low 8.
Low 8.
Yeah,
I like them. And I like Batman.
They're great.
Yeah, they're great. Don't get me wrong. But to me, the spectacle is part of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man, to me, when I think comic books, I think Spider-Man. Because he's never, at least in my head, he's never gone through the grim dark phase, where it's too realistic. It's always been very comfortable being a comic book with ridiculous costumes.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's fucking shooting webs out of his wrists.
Exactly. There's a Russian, a guy with a comedic Russian accent.
Yeah,
who's stuck in a rhino suit.
Yeah,
this is silly. This is dumb. But despite that artifice, Spider-Man is able to sneak in this real shit, and I think with Arkham, those two things are butting against each other. They
very much collide. Yeah,
But this game totally, like I said, makes it work.
It does absolutely. It's like, it's kind of like how it's kind of like by showing you how ridiculous a story can be, it also has it's as much as much as it has the capacity for being ridiculous and over the top. It's through that you can also be real and human and like find these connections through people. Like I connect throughout my entire life. I think I've connected with Peter Parker the most out of any fictional character.
Yeah.
Through be that as terrible as it might be, because I like just really looking through my life and really like looking at Peter as a character, it's like shit, I am really late on time and kind of have a disorganized life like Peter. But
and then there's that mutant spider bite.
Huh?
And then there's that mutant spider bite.
Yeah, you know, I don't know how that's. I don't know how I'm gonna get that taken care of. Doctors have said it's not good and
it's expensive.
Yeah, it's
American
expensive.
healthcare, I tell you.
Yeah, man. Fuck, I can't even go to the hospital after a stubbed toe.
Oh, dude, I have random organ. I've had random organ pains for like 2 years. And
Are you
I just,
serious?
Yeah, and I just like stopped drinking for like
shit.
a week or two, and that helps. But
Ever since I was a kid, I've been wanting to do like stupid parkour shit.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, but my family can't afford it.
Americans can't afford parkour.
Yeah, no, that's why I was like, my family can't afford it if I like break a bone. So
there's a reason why professional parkour people are not from America.
Yeah, that's true. I never made that fucking. Oh shit! I never made that connection before, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't ever do anything that'll. If you're in America, don't ever do anything that'll break a bone.
Yeah, don't.
I never go to the hospital. Like my rule of thumb is, if I'm not bleeding profusely or I don't have a bone protruding from me, I'm not going to the hospital. I'll be fine.
Yeah. No,
there's antibiotics or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel that. No, America's a nightmare, man.
Yeah, it is.
But Spider-Man is
great.
Yeah. But all right, so Act 3 it's very focused. It's almost like movie focused.
Yeah, it's like going back with that funnel analogy earlier. Act 1 is you're in the big container of whatever before the funnel. Act 2 is the center of the funnel, and then Act 3 I feel like is that little tiny bit at the end where it just goes into the container that you need it for.
Yeah.
It's more like pumping your gas in your car.
That's a good way to put it. I like both metaphors because either way, like the final moments of this game,
very tightly packed.
And to me, I always say that the best endings are the endings you never see coming, but by the time it's over, you can't think of another way that it could have ended. An inevitable ending. And to me, this game definitely has a sort of an inevitable ending that all the characters and all the themes are clearly working towards. And we sort of touched upon earlier. It's a little bit about losing your parents, losing what you've been holding on to, and then having to figure stuff out on your own. You know, we see it happen twice with the Miles and Peter. And so this is when not only does Peter start to lose May, in a very real sense, but also Peter just starts to lose. Like I really liked how persistently throughout the entire third act, his body is just being pummeled.
I mean, yeah, he himself is being physically pummeled. He's being tested emotionally through like the turn that Doc Ock takes, and he's throughout the entire game he has nowhere to live.
Yeah,
he's crashing at Feast, or he's crashing with MJ or with Miles. Like at the end of the game, he's like, "Yeah, my new place still isn't ready yet."
Think about that. After all the shit he's gone through, like he's sharing a room with a high school.
Yeah,
at the end,
yeesh. Oh shit! But yeah, no. And like you said, like he's taking the beatings from every angle and every aspect of life possible.
I don't think it's any accident that almost every single mission in the third act is a boss fight. You're on your way to fight a boss. There's no, and the whole city's against you too. So
at this point,
in the first two acts, you're able to just go fly around, have all the fun, mindlessly fucking twirl in the air, and now you gotta you can't even do that. You gotta be careful.
You gotta dodge rockets and fucking snipers and shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. I always have fun swinging through the city, and then a rocket launches onto me. It's like, can I beat this rocket? Can I do it? Because I'm far away enough from the rooftop, and usually I do.
Yeah. No. But usually you're pretty fast at that point.
Yeah. But it's just. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I got it, and then the rocket like somehow picks up speed and it knocks me out of there. I'm like, fuck.
Oh yeah.
Have you tried clearing out those groups?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. I just started that right now on this third playthrough, and I just discovered like, oh
yeah,
if I beat them here, they don't come back.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
No. Yeah. So Act 3, when I first started it, I was having a couple beers while I was playing it. And I gotta tell you, man, I think I said it. I think I went off on the last recording. I fucking love this combat. I fucking love beating the shit out of people in this game.
It's fucking great combat.
It never gets boring. So like when Act 3 hit, I spent like 2 hours just going around, just getting in as many fights as I could before I moved the story on. Which, by the way, like I didn't have to rush this game to beat it.
Yeah,
I really did it. I took my time. I got almost all the Taskmaster, all that shit. You know, there's not a lot left for me to do now.
I do have to go through and like because the last, like the third act, definitely I was like, I'm just gonna steamroll this one. There's only like 10 missions in it. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, and then when I beat it, I'll go ahead and I'll clear the map out again for the third time. It's so easy for a game to like not finish itself because crunch or like studio pressure, like just get the game out, we need it out right now. And then they release it, the true ending is DLC. That's one of the things I love about this game is that they told the story they wanted to tell, and they're like, oh, we got some extra stuff, and they made it its own thing. You know,
in general, this story, it feels like the people who are writing it are trying to prove themselves. You know, I love that. I love whenever I'm experiencing something, whether it be a song or a movie or a game, when I could feel the people making it like hungry, like desperate to prove themselves, and so they push themselves to do the best that they can. This is what this game feels like to me. Insomniac. What was it again? Ratchet. What was the modern thing? Was it Infamous? It didn't do Infamous.
No, Infamous is a Sucker Punch. Yeah.
So what was Insomniac's game last generation?
Just Ratchet, I believe.
Resistance.
Right? Yeah.
There you go. And then what are they? And then they did the Ratchet and Clank games.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't think they had another thing to work on this generation, right?
I don't believe so.
So they spent that whole time between
just
Resistance 3.
Spiderman.
Man, dude, it shows. So Act 3 is all just like a series of boss battles trying to get the anti-serum. And so Norman is the sort of like the main, in a weird way, he becomes the MacGuffin.
Yeah, I was about to say that he does become the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
So basically throughout Act 2, the MacGuffin is the Devil's Breath, and then the Devil's Breath ends up in the wrong hands, and it serves its purpose. It becomes a weapon, and it infects the entire city.
Did this play for you differently during the quarantine?
Yeah,
right. I felt a little bit.
No, because legit, like I'm just swinging through the city and I hear news reports of like, oh, like keep your distance, wash your hands, don't cough on anyone, keep a distance from everyone, stay indoors if unless absolutely necessary. It's like, holy shit.
Oh, we're living this shit.
I'm sorry, is this foreshadowing?
Yeah, was COVID Devil's Breath?
Yeah, so it's like this game is really good at foreshadowing. It even foreshadows real world events.
You know, and it's weird because now in these days, like just weird things have like a visual effect, just like the imagery of masks. Is just like symbolic of 2020 to me. Like I think from now on, whenever I see a mask, I'm going to think
it's going to be 2020. Yeah,
and so that was fucking weird. And so so Norman becomes the MacGuffin.
The MacGuffin, because basically it's revealed that Norman is basically responsible for Martin Lee becoming Mr. Negative or becoming more in tune with Mr. Negative.
Right,
and he's been using Devil's Breath to like try and cure Harry. Because if we're just going to go ahead and talk about that, if you don't mind.
Oh no, we're there.
Yeah. Harry's not in Europe. He's been sick. He's been sick with a genetic disease for quite some time. It's the same genetic disease that took his mom.
Right, and it's also very creepy when we see him that he's like in a suspended state in this liquid vat, and then like Norman, we're kind of getting to the very end here, but like Norman puts his hand on the glass, and then these tentacle-looking things like meet his at the very end. You know, like that's some horror movie shit, bro. Straight up.
So I love this game's use of mise-en-scène. Like even early on when we meet Doc Ock, we have all the tentacles going to him. It's like, oh fuck, he's gonna become Dr. Octopus at the end of this story. And then we have this scene where like Norman, he's already got the red hair, he's already kind of greedy. But and again, like you go through his penthouse as MJ, you find the helmet, you find the grenades and everything. It's just incredibly shot where like he's talking to his son. And this is the really tragic thing about Norman. As greedy as he is, as like power hungry as he is, he loves the shit out of his family. And like he's willing to do whatever it takes to save them, even if it's like the most evil shit possible.
No, honestly, that's exactly when Mary was walking through his house. Like exactly like you said throughout the game, I just kind of thought he was, Norman Osborn, the fucking mayor, the greedy asshole, But seeing, like you said, when he's in the mansion, let's talk about that reveal Harry's room. It's weird. It's built up. It's built up really well.
It's built up really well because that's the room that you get into as Mary Jane. That's where you find the facility at.
And then I love how like
you get a little guest riding with her.
Yeah, and then I really like how throughout that whole sequence, like Mary's like talking about how when they were little, you know, Harry was this rich kid, and then they were from Queens, and then how coming to his house, you know, felt like they were stepping into this whole other world, you know. And so in my head, like when we were doing that, like I knew we were gonna go to Harry's room eventually. I'm like, oh, like Harry's room is gonna be like this. It's gonna be like one of those like rich kid, like one of those like Hollywood kids rooms where like it's all super themed and there's cool shit everywhere. Don't look like anybody's room in real life.
Exactly.
But,
yeah.
You know, like I was expecting that. So when the door opened and
you see a medical bed.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, that honestly affected me, man.
Yeah.
And I honestly felt for Norman. There's that little thing where he's like, don't fuck around with my kid's room. Like, I want it ready for when he comes back from his trip.
Yeah.
And so I think, again, like that reinforces the idea that he's like in there for some sort of thing. But then it's like, no, like, this is it. And in some weird way, that connects to Mr. Negative because that's Harry's pain. I mean, that's Norman's pain.
Yeah.
And he's keeping it intact. You know?
And he, like, as you were saying, we were expecting like this big rich kid house or big rich kid room. No, it's very minimalist actually. Like from what I remember, I just saw last night. Like it's so minimalist that it's literally just, I think, from if I remember correctly, it's the hospital bed, maybe some high school college like not paraphernalia, but like some high school college memorabilia, and then all his books and like maybe a TV and a couch and a desk. Yeah, because he wants to be an environmental lawyer.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like, Mary Jane has a line where he's like, oh, he wanted to be a lawyer, yada, yada, like his mom. Right. So it's like, fuck, he's got every advantage in the world possible. He's white, he's a man, he's rich, and he wants to fucking still save the environment. That's awesome. Yeah. Harry's a really good guy.
No, yeah. Honestly, you know, and it sucks because we all know what happens to Harry eventually. Yeah. And in every Spider-Man movie, you got to build him up to be like this so that when he turns, it hurts. Yeah. And man, like I could already, like, it's knowing that eventually he does become the Hobgoblin. And I'm not saying it's going to happen in the next game or nothing, but like knowing that that's sort of where he's going, it's like, fuck, you're right, man. It's like he starts here. And then we'll, you know, maybe we'll get there at some point.
Yeah. But no, I love just that whole scene of at the end where Norman is talking to Harry. I love the fact that when we're looking at Norman, there's no lights or anything, so it's just like the green on him. It's like, oh, he's gonna become the Green Goblin. Oh yeah, at some point. And then, like you said, the black tendrils. Like as he's reaching out, it's like, oh, Harry's mentally awake. He's there. Yeah. Which, by the way, those black tendrils. A little goopy, right?
Yeah, no, they look a little venomy.
Little symbiote.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know what it is lately. I don't think they've ever done it in the comics, but like I think it's Ultimate Spider-Man, the comic, the cartoon with Drake Bell Spider-Man. Okay. They do this weird storyline where Harry has the black suit, and so he's rolling around as a black Spider-Man. Which I don't understand how that happened, but yeah. So it's this weird, like, I'm wondering if they're gonna do. That's gonna be Venom. If they're gonna have Harry as Venom in the next. I don't know what it is. Spider-Man 2, because Spider-Man Miles Morales isn't Spider-Man 2. It's its own thing. But yeah, in the next installment after Miles. Yeah, story.
One after. I'm sure they're working on that one right now.
I have so many theories, and we're gonna talk about it in a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So. This is what I like about this mission, is that it takes a very dark turn just before it ends, because we find Harry's journal, and in it there's this, you know, he's writing it as usual, but then he acknowledges that his father reads his journal. He knows his father's reading his journal. That, I mean, that's sort of a D-bag move. I don't care who you are. You don't do that to someone, you know. Yeah. Norman is the kind of guy who, like you said, like he might be a good person at his heart, but he's willing to
do terrible shit,
you know, and it may not be the end of the world to read someone's journal, but that is a shitty thing to do.
That's a very shitty thing to do. That's a big invasion of privacy.
Yeah, and then also what he does to Otto in Act 1. It's very much along the same lines. Yeah. It's weird. It takes such a dark tonal shift in the third act, and it's not jarring, and it's perfectly realized.
Yeah. Just going back to the mission where he plays Mary Jane for a second, I thought they were going to do a whole flipping of the script where Mary Jane got bit by the spider. Yeah, because like she carries the spider with her for a bit. I'm like, what are they doing here? Right. But it's so weird. It's so well written, and it doesn't feel like it's forced in there. It's not like this big built up thing, and it makes sense that it's at this moment.
Yeah, and it does give you that tension of
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah. But and like fuck, it's just so weird. It's like, okay, so this couldn't have come in earlier because then Miles would already basically have his spider powers.
mm-hmm.
But it's what's your takeaway by the fact that the spider ended up on Mary Jane but didn't bite her, but ends up going over and landing on Miles?
I think I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really have much to think. I think it's it was one of those things that felt very Hollywood to me. That it was kind of convenient that it didn't bite Mary Jane.
Of course, yeah.
But given the fact that it's this kind of game, this sort of story, I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
How did you think of it?
I honestly, thinking about it now, I kind of had this takeaway of like, it's kind of like she's kind of Spider-Man's backbone. Because I mean, she's always there for Peter, and of course it's because it's Peter,
right?
And he just happens to be Spider-Man. But like here she is, she's literally pretty much delivering a spider to Miles, and it's like, it's kind of it. I feel like it is like she's kind of like the cornerstone or like the backbone of the Spider-Man, not necessarily the brand, but like the symbol of Spider-Man, because like. It always comes back to Mary Jane, whether it's the comics or the movies or this game. It's and as many different loves as Peter will have, it always comes back.
It always comes back to Mary Jane.
It always comes back to Mary Jane.
Yeah, and I mean I think that totally is part of like the sort of vibes of this story. It's a simple little love story, high school sweethearts. It's like Americana, man. It's like apple pie.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if Superman is Americana through the immigrant story, then Spider-Man is Americana through the like established.
Yeah.
To people who didn't immigrate here, you know? For Miles at least, like he sees Peter like as his older brother.
Yeah.
To some extent.
I mean, fuck, he trusts him to the point where like he doesn't even know Peter is Spider-Man. He's like, I'm just gonna show him I have spider powers.
Him seeing like, because there's that whole thing where he's like, oh, you're Spider-Man's girlfriend. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I think there's something to Miles seeing that you can be Spider-Man and have a girlfriend, I think it makes it easier for him later on to make that decision to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because
like,
at least
like it's not like this big thing where I'm sacrificing the entirety of my life to be Spider-Man.
If Peter can find a balance, if Peter can find a Mary Jane, I can too.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
I can maybe find a Gwen Stacy.
Yeah. So the final mission of the game. Is a fucking
all 5 have been taken out. If you've been doing all the side quests and all the camps and everything like that, the city's pretty much cleaned up except for like a couple of gangs here and there that the police can take care of. Sable, and this is a really cool touch. After you have that mission where you fight Martin Lee, Sable does call you, and she's like, "You've made me think about some stuff, and I have to go now." And he's like, "Oh, cool. So your entire company's leaving." She's like, yeah, no.
The company is bad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, there is that whole build up where we have to put the serum together.
Yeah, or the suit, yeah.
The suit, my bad, the suit.
Either way.
Yeah.
Did you think like the suit was necessary by any chance? Like what did you think about that whole sequence?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if I thought it was necessary. I thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's grown on me.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of it before when I first played it, but this third time is like, it's got something.
Yeah, it did kind of suffer a little bit from like the infamous, the coolest the coolest powers in like the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah,
where it's like I get this suit and
Are you talking about just Infamous in general or Infamous Second Son?
Infamous Second Son, my bad. Yeah, Infamous Second Son. Yeah, they sort of have the same issue where like I'm handed this suit. But you got to realize I was planning on using this other suit this whole time.
Yeah.
So now I got to.
And I this is the third time on New Game Plus of all things, and I tried switching out the suit. It still doesn't let you.
Yeah,
It locks you into this suit for this little bit. Yeah. And I think it's got a purpose. My takeaway is, again, this is the third time I played it. I just realized this. I really got to sharpen up my my analytical skills of like games and movies. It's made out of the same material as Doc Ock's tentacles. So my whole thought is basically Doc Ock is too fast with because the whole thing is that his tentacles work off of like a fraction of a nanosecond.
Yeah,
from his
super
thoughts.
Quick,
yeah, it's super quick. So he's basically using the same technology as Doc Ock's arms. He's just making a suit out of it.
I thought,
so
yeah.
he's making himself faster. That's what I took away from this last playthrough.
I thought he was giving himself some sort of like secret hidden, not like Doc Ock arms, but some sort of prosthesis that he was going to use. I mean, either way, like the power that it did have of giving you unlimited webbing.
That
like,
honestly, I think that's the best power in the game.
Yeah, honestly, like if we're gonna be a little
aside from quips.
Yeah, like to me, like if we had to kind of look at that decision just from like a sort of like practical point of view, if I had to guess, I don't know shit about making video games. Just to put that out there, I think they had that boss fight and they realized that like with the ammo that you had, there was no way to do it because you had to kind of like, at least the way I did it, I just webbed the shit out of them whenever I could and went for the attack.
Yeah. I swapped it up this time around. I tried the electric webbing. I tried the web bomb. I tried the trip line. I tried almost everything.
But ultimately, you needed to.
Ultimately, it's the webbing, which that refills itself.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah. So I think ultimately, just from like a practical point of view, if I had to guess. They got to that mission. They're like, oh yeah, so there's no way anybody can do this without having to have like unlimited fucking web shooters for a while. So, okay, I guess I have to make a suit.
Yeah,
but you know, either way, even if I'm right, which I'm probably not, they did a good job. I think it's a cool looking suit.
Yeah,
it's not my favorite suit.
It's not my favorite, either, but it's again, it's grown on me, and yeah,
it makes it makes the final moments visually cohesive. It's kind of like something you said earlier about how when you're inside Martin Lee's head and you're in that costume and how it contrasts.
The negative one. Oh yeah,
I think the emotional stakes of that scene is it's too high. I think it's too high for there to be sort of any sort of disconnect in any sort of way. So I think it also is a way to sort of bring Spider-Man into the finale instead of bringing the finale to you. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
you know?
I get it.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah, because so you know the boss fight itself is kind of like all the other boss fights.
Yeah, and again, like we mentioned earlier in this recording session, you're hardly ever touching the ground.
Yeah,
you're either always swinging or you're like you're perching or you're point launching or something. You're hardly ever touching the ground.
Yeah,
and even when you are, chances are you're dodging some shit that Doc Ock is throwing at you.
Yeah, definitely. So it is just sort of like a standard boss fight. But then this it's after you sort of beat him for real. It's when you're on that building and you're having that like on the walls fighting sequence. You know, that's when the emotional stuff sort of kicks in, because that's when Spider-Man and Doc Ock start to have like that sort of like banter and shit. You know, so eventually Spider-Man beats him, and what I liked is that once Peter Parker, actually before we go into that, I do want to touch about one more thing with Norman.
Okay,
it's a very quick thing that I really liked. When Otto like drops him down, his wallet falls down.
Was it his wallet?
It was his wallet.
Oh, okay,
at least that's what I thought it was.
I thought it was his phone or something.
You think it was his phone? I thought it was his wallet. I thought it was symbolic because he's wealthy, you know?
Yeah.
So that was
the fall of wealth, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, even when you beat the game or, like, as you get closer to beating the game, they start talking about Norman. They're like, there's no way he's going to bounce back from this. He's going to get destroyed the next election.
Right,
He's not going to be the mayor,
Yeah. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah.
But what I really liked is that once Peter rips out the neural interface, he's a pathetic old man. He's literally laying there because his body's dying.
Yeah, he literally cannot function. He can barely function.
Yeah, and he's just like laying and he's helpless once again. And it's a good equalizer for Peter because he can't really beat the shit out of him anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think it was symbolic of, it was never Octavius that was the problem, that was his enemy. It was the technology that he had made.
Well, I mean, there's that scene, the last time we see Otto, the last scene with Otto before he turns to Octavius, where he's just like, this is, you know, my body is weak. This is who I am now.
He's doing everything with the arms basically, except for basically standing.
And basically he's saying, I'm nothing without these arms.
Yeah.
You know?
If you're nothing without the arms, you shouldn't have them.
There you go. Yeah, is that what he says?
No.
Oh, but I like that.
That's just what Tony says to Peter in Homecoming.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When Peter's like, oh no, I need the suit. And he's like, you can't have the suit. You shouldn't have it. Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you. I've been working on it.
Yeah. So I really like how that sort of whole thing where it's like,
yeah, it's all good.
where it's like, you know, the biggest downfall with Otto is that whatever happened with him and Norman, it must have deeply affected him way more.
Oh,
than
absolutely.
Norman,
Yeah.
clearly, but it clearly like affected him to the point where he sees himself as worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
I mean, it says something where this is a great thing I liked about that whole scene with Otto and Norman on the rooftop, where Otto has shown that he is willing to drop Norman right here, right now, and kill him.
yeah.
And Norman still has the balls to talk shit to Otto.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
and that was the only time I liked Norman. Is
Yeah.
when he's giving him his, when he's like fucking late, like, you ain't shit, bro. You
Yeah.
never were shit without me.
Yeah.
And then
He's like, yeah, sure, you're smart, but I'm fucking better than you.
yeah, you
like-
just couldn't fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's shoving it right in his face. Is that
Mhm.
like, despite all your fucking arms, despite all these things, like,
Mhm.
you were still always second best. And that's where his pain comes from.
Yeah, because I mean, fucking, they made Otto kind of intrinsically linked to Norman and Oscorp.
Mhm.
I love that backstory of like, oh, they call this the O's. Add a corp to that. It's a pretty good It's a pretty good name. It's like, he fucking made Oscorp.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But
Yeah.
then fucking Osborn took it away from him.
Right. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Twice.
Yeah,
Took it away from him
Twice.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, he has nothing, and then the only thing he needs to basically, I guess, function, like the only thing he feels tied to is science. And if he gets control back of Oscorp, then, you know, that's him. He's settled. But
Yeah.
Just fucking Osborn's like, no, bro, it's mine.
Yeah. And honestly, given the sort of motivations of the two,
Mhm.
neither one of them is more right than the other.
Oh no, not at all.
You know, I think initially Doc Ock clearly had all his hearts in the right. His heart was in the right place.
Absolutely.
Totally. Say what you will about Norman, his heart was in the right place.
Yeah.
You know.
He was just more results driven, I'd say.
Well, he has more money.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know. So then we have like one of the two completely heartbreaking scenes, and they come almost like back to back. So this game is a real gut puncher.
Mhm.
But it's Peter, man.
Mhm.
It's watching Peter when he picks up that fucking
The
tentacle.
tentacle.
And he's like, "You fucking let it go for this."
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
such a little great piece
Like,
of acting.
And it's this, it's this whole, throughout the entire game, Peter is like trying to reassure Otto that he's like, no, like, your body can fail you, but your mind is amazing. Like, that's why I've chosen to follow you, is your
Right.
mind.
Mm-hmm.
But the way Otto's thinking, or begins to think, is like, oh, he just wants me for my ideas and my technology.
Right.
He's gonna steal from me. And that's why I loved the inclusion of the line of like, when Otto accuses him of leaving him or turning against him, and Peter's like, turning against you? You were my hero.
Oh, dude, I love that.
I loved your mind, your conscience, like willing to help people. That's when he lays it all out right there. He's like, I would never wanted you for your ideas. I never wanted to steal from you.
Yeah.
I just adored you. You were,
Right.
again, my idol. I
Mhm.
wanted to be, like, he literally says, you were everything I wanted to be. And it's not looks, it's not power, it's mind. It's the will to help other people. The fact that Doc Ock doesn't realize that, because again, he is kind of pathetic, and not even kind of, he is pathetic at this point now, and like, he doesn't even realize the gifts he can give to other people is just ideas.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, to me, a sign that this is a really good line is when the line is spoken, you as an audience viscerally have like something you want to say back at the screen. And when Otto says, "You turned on me," I was like, "You motherfucker! You turned on him!" You know, like just like, I was so filled with rage.
Yeah,
that's just good fucking writing, and that's good. I don't know what to call filmmaking in the context of a video game, but I guess good direction.
Yeah, no,
know?
good direction.
Yeah.
Great writing, and just great voice acting.
And just
Yuri Lowenthal.
guy who
That's
did
the
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fucking hilarious that he has to spend the entire game shouting out Yuri,
Oh,
because
for real, huh?
because that's the name of the the police detective.
That's funny.
Yeah.
He really fucking nailed it in that
nailed
scene.
it, man.
And it's a real heartbreaker, dude, because like, you know, Spider-Man's big thing is that he's an orphan.
Mm-hmm.
His father was killed,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, this game is all about his other parental figures. So not only does he lose Martin, does he lose Otto, but then the next scene,
Really quick before we move on, again, it's just another point towards Peter winning the fight but losing the war, where he is standing on his own, literally above Otto because Otto's laying down, and he's still like just distraught and lost. He doesn't feel like he won anything. He got the serum, but he didn't win because fucking even Otto was like, "You can't save me. This is what I want to do."
Right.
Yeah.
It's
so fucking tragic.
And then honestly, like, just the sort of the such a simple setup, and it's weird. When this ending reminded me of the end of The Dark Knight, you know, where the third act revolves around the prisoner's dilemma, you know, the buttons on both boats, and all that. On both boats. Yeah. And this game sort of does the same thing. Peter has an antidote, and it's just enough to create a base to save humanity. And it's also kind of like The Last of Us.
Yeah, no, legit.
You know, but
it's a very needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few kind of a thing.
Exactly, yeah, and right, and then also like it's just enough to heal his aunt.
It breaks down to choice that you don't have a choice in.
No, you don't. Yeah. Just like in The Last of Us.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I love about Peter. This is why I love this scene so much as it breaks my heart, because he with the sample he has now, he has enough to save his aunt, and that's it. Or they can study it, break it down, maybe spend a day on it, and make an antidote for the entirety of New York.
Right.
So literally sacrifice one for the fucking how many people are in New York? Thousands.
No, it's it's the biggest city.
Yeah. So and he wants to save Aunt May so much.
Yeah.
And as much as he wants to do it, he knows the right thing is to save everyone else.
And not just the right thing, but that's what Aunt May would want.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what Uncle Ben would want.
Exactly. And
you know?
So how did you react when Aunt May?
I cried, bro.
When Aunt May said, "I want to see my nephew."
Oh, dude, especially that because you see him. By the way, such a great job of the animation that just like through physicality before we see the mask, you get everything. You need to know with that character.
Yeah, he's stiff. He's thinking about things. Yeah. He's weighing. You can see that it's weighing down on him.
And then when you reveal the mask, I knew he was gonna be a crying mess. But this is gonna sound weird, but it isn't like a pathetic sort of cry. There was like this stoic,
single man tear.
It's a man tear. There you go. Yeah. He had a stoic man tear.
It's not just the single man. It's like stoic man tear stream. I don't know. No,
that's the best way to put it. Yeah, it's this shows how indoctrinated we are to be toxic masculine males here. Is that let's face it, this is a broken man.
Yeah,
he should be weeping and like it should be fine that we see him weeping. But no, this is
it still puts him in a stoic.
Yeah, he needs to have the manly cry.
Yeah, he's not ugly looking or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I can admit wholeheartedly, I'm a fucking ugly crier.
Well, yeah,
I get snotty nosed and everything.
Yeah,
and,
no, I am too.
Yeah.
I mean, no, this hit me emotionally. I wasn't a sobbing mess.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I was like,
oh, yeah,
damn,
I was just sitting in my chair, and again, this is the third time I've seen this scene, and Aunt May's talking to Peter, and I'm watching the whole thing, and I'm just like, leaning back, tears are welling up my eyes. I'm like, why is this still hitting me,
dude? No, because it's really well written, it's really well acted, and you really fucking feel it. I mean, this game is it's weird that like this isn't talked about as a very well written game on the same level as like the God of War or the Last of Us games, you know? Because dude, this is like top tier game storytelling in my opinion. Yeah, because I mean, I was crying. And I cried the minute I saw Peter's face. That's what made me like break down. You know, I was so tied to this character that like I've seen this scene a million times. You know, and I've seen it by like amazing directors with top tier actors or the best camera lenses. But this felt just as powerful, good, just as powerful.
Yeah.
And
would you feel like if it would be this powerful if it was MCU Spider-Man?
I have a disconnect, man. I feel very disconnected from the MCU. I watch some of the movies here and there, and
but you're not as ardent a fan as pop culture makes out everyone to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I couldn't tell you the whole story of the Avengers, honestly.
Yeah.
I've only seen pieces here and there. But I mean, what I think what it benefits from is that my issue with all of Disney's superhero movies, but is that they're not director-driven movies. They're not writer-written
They're
movies.
studio-driven.
They're producer-driven movies.
Oh yeah.
It's like I said, even to the point where, like, the reason why you choose your costume in pre-production is so that you can make sure that the lights and the sets and all that shit works together. And that's because the director is making that choice to have all that shit tied together. A producer just sees a suit as a means to an end, as a set, so it doesn't fucking matter. We'll figure it out. But this does not have that producer sort of feeling. Everything feels intentional. Everything feels like there is a vision that is guiding this facet of the story, or the shifting MacGuffins, the shifting in parental figures. All of it is expressed. The fucking wallet falling out of Norman's fucking thing and all that, like all these little tiny things. That's the voice of a director, or at least a team of directors who are not just providing a product in the fucking assembly line to meet a deadline. They spent a long time on this. You can tell they spent a long time on this. And that quality and that love pours towards every inch. So, I mean, no, I really don't think that if it was a Marvel cinematic product, I don't think it would be made like this. So I really don't think it would have that. But,
True.
But this is what makes video games, and movies. Is that a lot of that connection was just the fact that I was this dude for like 40 hours.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah. And I didn't have as much of an arduous or tiring time as spending fucking almost 30 hours as
Ellie.
Yeah. And again, like, I do find myself wanting to go back and playing the game sooner than I thought I would.
Dude, same.
Yeah. Well, and like they did the patch, or not the patch, but the update where you got a grounded difficulty and permadeath mode.
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts to me.
Well, permadeath might feel, if it was like the first game, I would do the permadeath mode. But I think the second game's just
it's gonna be way too long.
Yeah.
If it's on New Game Plus and you have all your shit, then yeah. That'd be cool because I don't have to go and find all that shit again.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna do it anytime soon. I'm gonna play Devil May Cry 5 again before I do that.
I've already made up my mind that I'm gonna do a video about The Last of Us 2 next year, a year after I've had a year to sit on it.
I see.
So I don't know if you want to be a part of that.
I'd be down.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's a mystery to me, dude. It's a mystery to me why this isn't constantly in conversation.
I know,
as one of the best stories in video games.
Yeah, why it's not like I'm surprised. I mean, yeah, I got Game of the Year edition, or I got Game of the Year, but like, it's not being has it won any awards for like best story in a game?
I'm not sure, but
because it should.
Well, I mean, that year they did. Well, you haven't played Red Dead 2 all the way.
No,
that's another big
man.
We're not probably going to touch that for a while, but I'm sure we're going to talk about it someday.
Playing it 3 times, I think I might have had my fill. I might clear it one more time. I might do that DLC just so I can get that final trophy. Because again, that last trophy that I need to get is called The City Sleeps.
Right.
Because the DLC is called The City That Never Sleeps.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, it's the last possible trophy you could get.
Okay.
It's just thematically correct. Like, it's it makes so much sense thematically that's the final trophy you get.
It's funny.
That's
you say
all
that.
you need to do in the game.
I have like 79% of the trophies. I'm probably going to end up platinum it over the next 2 days. But I made up I didn't get the Dr. Ben, the Uncle Ben gravesite trophy.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the last trophy I go for.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
You want to know what the other hidden trophy that I missed was?
Which one?
Do all the fucking puzzles in the lab.
Oh, I did that.
Yeah.
I like those puzzles personally, so I did them. I knocked them out as soon as they were available.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
I got halfway through and was like,
I'm a podcast gamer, so puzzles are a good reason for me to just like zone out for a little bit.
That makes sense. I will say that, like, I mean, either way, whether you do them or not, like, the story still makes sense as to like how Peter and Doc Ock get to where they are at the end of the game. But if you do the puzzles, it makes so much more sense. It adds more clarity to it because, like, oh, there's all this shit that's broken. I'm fixing it.
Yeah.
And then Doc Ock still comes in and fucks it up.
Yeah.
So.
They do a good job. They did a good job of incorporating it into the storyline and all that.
I mean, into the game, Miles reveals that he has spider powers. Peter shows him that he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Really cool kind of brother moment.
Yeah. I really like those Marvel-y tags.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I enjoyed they brought from the Marvel universe for sure.
Fucking, I love that as Miles is trying to talk to him about it, Peter thinks he's talking about puberty, and Miles is just Miles's face is perfect where he's just like, no.
Yeah.
Not that.
Yeah.
And
We're
then
not
he
going to
just
talk
shows-
about
yeah,
that.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and then Peter gets back with MJ. They're, I think, gonna move in together.
So yeah, that's the impression
Yeah.
I get. Yeah.
And then Doc Ock ends up at the raft. Norman starts talking to Harry with possibly the symbiote around him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a good setup for a sequel, man.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I really kind of want to talk about was a bit of a knock for me. The final 2 shots of the game were just a little too sudden.
Which ones?
It's just the close. It's just when it's Aunt May's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Just that, and then the close up of Doc Ock.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. I just think it was edited a little weird.
Yeah.
I think they could have used a little more refinement, something. It's just a little too quiet for me, you know?
Is this where I get into theory time?
Let's go. Theory time.
All right, so theory time. I think not Miles Morales' storyline, but I think the game after that, you're going to be fighting Superior Spider-Man, which is Doc Ock in Peter's body.
Okay.
So it's kind of setting up that way. So basically in the comics, again, through a previous storyline, Doc Ock has a robot going around and it's like continuously rewriting Peter's brain pattern and Doc Ock's.
I've heard of this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So basically it's swapping their
Yeah.
brain patterns into each other's bodies, and that's how we get Doc Ock in Peter's body. And then the final 3 issues, it's the whole storyline of Doc Ock is in Peter's body and Peter's in Doc Ock's dying body. So he's trying to get out. Doc Ock's body is dying.
Right.
He's in prison. Maybe shit started because, again, if I remember correctly, Doc Ock built the suit.
Yeah.
He built the advanced suit. And there's the whole neural inhibitor thing. Maybe that technology is somewhere.
And I mean also like he knows before he knows Spidey suits.
Yeah.
Like, early on he's commenting and then he makes like a little upgrade on it. You know?
Yeah, and that's the big thing. Why in the fuck would Doc Ock again, he has backup plans for his backup plans. He had to anticipate that Peter might beat him, and in that case he would still have a backup plan.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense that he would have it to where he's like, well, Peter, he's a smart kid. He's really he's got everything. He's got the looks. He's young. He's agile. He's fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I want to put my brain in that kid.
Yeah. I can see that. And I think another little bit of supporting evidence to go towards that is when people are angry and accusatory, projection comes into play a lot, especially if it's baseless. Like if you ever want to see what people think about themselves, watch them get riled up over something that is baseless, and then watch what they accuse other people of.
Yeah.
And that's almost always, there's a reason why instinctually they go there, because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And what does Otto fear of Spider-Man? That he's been stealing all his secrets behind his back. Okay, all right, man. No, okay. I can see that.
I was spending the entire time of doing the DLC because I had this since the first game. I was watching the DLC. I was paying attention. I was paying attention to the last couple of cutscenes in the main game. It was like, is he talking any different? Is he behaving in any different way? What's going on? But no, so far so good. Peter is still Peter. He's still cracking jokes and everything.
Yeah, no, so, I like that.
But I do think either that or because anytime Miles shows up and has his spider powers, at that point Peter is
on the way out, right?
Yeah, 9 times out of 8, he's on his way out.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking the final the whole series of the whole story of the next main game after Miles' story, either A, he's gonna become Venom somehow, and you got to fight Venom, or it's Superior Spider-Man, or they do Superior Venom.
Okay,
and that actually happens in the comics too.
All right, I do not know enough about Spider-Man to tell you what I think is coming. But I will say this. I'm excited that we're getting Miles Morales. Same reason you are.
Very much excited.
In fact, I'm glad you brought up the whole pass of the baton thing, because I thought it was going to happen this game.
Yeah,
I thought
legit.
I thought the final mission wasn't going to, I don't think we were going to fight Doc Ock as Miles or anything. Yeah. But I think there was going to be a day in the life of Spider-Man, and then it's like Miles or something.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a passing of the baton story here.
Because I'll just tell you this right now. Throughout the DLC, you're basically training Miles to be Spider-Man.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like it's not like any specific missions or anything, but
It's just
like
in the background.
yeah, it's the radio calls of like Miles being like, "Why do I got to do physics homework? My what diameter of the web shooter is gonna be different, yada yada yada." Like they're just talking shop the entire time. It was like, you're gonna be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So
Okay. No, yeah, no, I'm excited to play the DLC.
the
That's for
DLC,
damn sure.
honestly, I think with the aside from the first DLC
Yeah.
with Black Hat is kind of but the DLC is really fun to play.
Yeah.
They bring in Tombstone, and this is what I fucking love about this game. They delve into the plethora of villains that he has. They don't just go for the big ones. They set up the big ones, you know.
Yeah.
And like they have fun with the I guess the B team of the villains.
Mhm.
And again, they bring in fucking Tombstone. He's like D tier of Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
So
He's from what I understand, he's a drug dealer that can't die.
oh no, okay, yeah, I did say Tombstone. That is Tombstone again. He's in the main game.
Oh,
No.
Taskmaster. Or?
No, not Taskmaster. Hammerhead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they bring in fucking Hammerhead.
That just sounds like
for
a
the
D tier.
DLC. Yeah.
It just
Oh, yeah,
sounds
no.
like a D tier villain.
His fucking thing, his entire fucking thing is like
Mint berry crunch.
yeah, he's like a gangster, and like I think he's got a metal plate in his head, and it's just fucking hard. And that's it.
That just sounds
That's
like
it.
that just sounds like Jack Kirby and Stan Lee in like 1982 being
Oh
like,
yeah,
what we got like 3 hours, whatever. He's got a hard head.
Yeah,
Like
no.
a hammerhead. Okay.
Yeah, legit.
Okay, draw it. We're good. Fine.
bam. No, legit. I think that's what happened.
Yeah,
because it's just his. You want to know what his main thing he does is? If he doesn't have two guns in his hands,
What is it?
he fucking runs at the people, and
It just bashes them with his head or
bashes them with his head. Yeah,
If
that's
all,
it.
If all you got's a hammer, man, everything looks like a nail.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's dumb as hell, man. But I'm sure that's gonna be fun. So that's been it for Spider-Man. Chris, you want to tell us what the next game is?
The next game is going to be Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice,
which is going to be a very quick game. It's probably going to be a quick podcast because it's a couple hours, maybe 6 or 7.
Okay, cool.
But trippy as hell. So it's if you can't, if you have anxiety or anything like that, we're going to talk about it pretty as knowledgeable as we can. We're going to try to we're going to try to like address it as positively as we can.
Yeah. Or we'll be as real as we can.
yeah, because but the whole game is centered around a character with some kind of mental challenge.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's very well themed and very well paced, and it's by a company that I kind of lost all hope in. But they brought me back with this one.
Right on.
So yeah,
I haven't played it before, so I'm excited to play it myself. We've been playing me a story, part of the Pop Counterculture Media podcast, which is a bit in shambles right now.
Well, yeah, Corona.
But it's we will be back, and as soon as we have some some updates on the podcast for you, we will report them. Until then, check out our YouTube channel where I have been doing nearly daily reviews of a lot of movies on there.
Yeah. I watched a couple. They're timely. They're quick. They're succinct. They're really well put together.
Thank you very much,
You're
man.
very welcome.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do. So
Yeah.
that's good. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Pop Counterculture Media. Be sure to follow us on there for all our updates. I've been Ed.
I've been Chris.
And you've been awesome. Have a good one.
Take it easy, guys.